Thank you for joining us today. My name is Victor, and I'm a librarian with the Youth Services Department here at Sacramento Public Library. We are excited to welcome you to the STEAM Youth Leadership Program Series. This program is funded by the California State Library Stronger Together initiative.
Today, we have the opportunity to engage in conversation with Jeanita Pritchett. Jeanita is a science coach, educator, speaker, consultant, and artist. Dr. J started her career working as an analytical chemist to then turn into a motivational speaker, trainer, and coach focused on personal and professional development. She also has other ventures that provide her with additional outlets to continue reaching and empowering youth through her joint venture at the STEM Forward Academy to millennials and women through consulting group Facilitate to Motivate, F2M, through her own coaching practice, JSP Coaching and Consulting, and her artistic outlet Eccentric Accents, where she creates amazing custom paintings. Jeanita from JeanitaPritchett.com is about from her JeanitaPritchett.com About You page mentions Dr. J, as she likes to be called, earned a BS in chemistry from Tennessee State University, a PhD in analytical chemistry from the University of Illinois at Chicago, an executive certificate in leadership from Georgetown University, an executive certificate in diversity and inclusion from Cornell University, and a certificate in diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace from University of South Florida Muma College of Business.
Dr. J, thank you for joining us today. I would like to introduce you to our cohort members, Jamie, Nigel, Jasna, and Mia, who are ready to start a conversation with you about your personal journey as a Black, Indigenous, and Latinx STEM professional. Go ahead, guys.
Hi, I am Yasna, and I'm a junior in high school.
Hi, I'm Jamie. I'm a sophomore in high school.
Hi, my name is Nigel. I'm a senior in high school here.
It is wonderful to meet you all, and I'm so glad to be here and excited to be sharing a little bit about myself. Just real quick, my name is pronounced Jeanita Pritchett, and last name is Clay. I recently was married and haven't updated my website yet, but really excited to be here with you all.
Congratulations. Can you tell us a bit about your background and expertise in your field?
Absolutely. So I always first like to acknowledge where I came from to help explain where I've gone, right? And my story really starts with my parents. I am a second generation scientist. Both of my parents actually met in physics class, and they ultimately went on to get their degree in physics and then got their master's degree in nuclear engineering from Howard University. And when they moved to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, or more specifically Monroeville, Pennsylvania, they had myself and my two siblings, and were always doing everything they could to expose us to science, technology, engineering, and math. From take your daughter to work day, to computer camps, to getting me my first microscope. They really did a great job with introducing all the different things and opportunities that exist in STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and math. I was fortunate to have so many great educators and mentors along the way. And I credit my high school chemistry teacher for really pushing me into chemistry as a discipline. He really just saw something in me and motivated me and encouraged me to pursue that as a degree. I ended up going to Tennessee State University, which is a HBCU, a historically Black college or university, to major in chemistry. And then along the way, I did a number of internships at the University of Virginia, University of Pittsburgh, and then also at the NIH, and was able to get a lot of great hands-on experience, but ultimately decided that I wanted to major in analytical chemistry. And I decided to go to the University of Illinois at Chicago to get my PhD in analytical chemistry. From there, I've had a lot of different jobs, ranging from a federal employee, working as a researcher, working as a scientific advisor. I got to actually go to South Africa for a stint and do STEM education outreach, so getting to actually do hands-on activities with the youth in South Africa and training teachers better ways in how they can be effective communicators and teachers. And then ultimately came back and have been working in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space for the better part of the last 5 years. Outside of my work, I also have a number of business ventures, as you heard in my intro by Jamie. I do a lot of coaching and consulting. I have a program called STEAM Forward, where we're looking at introducing K-12 students to science, technology, engineering, art, and math, throwing the art component in there, so that they can approach these topics with confidence, enthusiasm, and a genuine sense of belonging. And we have a wonderful program that we really get to get, right there with the children to get them excited with STEM. And then, as you mentioned, also, I'm an artist. If you can see in my background, I do have a couple pieces behind me. These are some of the artwork that I've created. Probably my favorite one is called See It, Believe It, Become It, which really is an ode to the impact that mentors, educators, parents play in helping to shape someone's identity. And so you can see a young woman looking in the mirror, seeing herself as a scientist, and both really represent me from when I was a child and into my adulthood. And it was really shaped by my parents, my friends, my educators that really poured into me along the way. So I do a lot in the STEM space. And hopefully you can see that if you were to pursue a degree in science, technology, engineering, or math, that you have so many opportunities available for you.
What's your favorite part of your job? What's the favorite part?
So my favorite part of my job has to be actually getting to see the light bulb go off whenever a student is able to master some type of concept that they thought was going to be difficult. I also teach, so I've been teaching college level chemistry since 2005, and I can literally see whenever a student comes in and they're scared about the subject and they think they're going to fail, or maybe they had a bad experience in the past and they come in defeated before we've even started. So I always tell my students from the beginning, like, hey, throw out the window anything you've ever heard about chemistry, that it's hard, that it's boring, whatever, and just give me a chance. And I promise I'll make it relatable to you so that you can excel in the class. And so then while I'm teaching, I try to use real life examples, help them to understand where it connects to them in their real life, make it real to them. And literally, as we're going through topics that they had thought would be so hard, so challenging, I can literally see the aha moment when they understand something. And so for me, that's the thing I love the most, is that I'm able to take something that I'm passionate about and help others to understand it and feel confident in it.
Thank you for your response. My next question for you is, can you tell me what interests you most about your work?
So that's a great question, Nigel. So what interests me most about my work is that, science is everywhere. It's literally everywhere, like from the air that we're breathing to the materials that we're wearing to the technology that we're using even to have this conversation. It's everywhere. And so what interests me the most is just how much it impacts our day-to-day lives and how innovative, creative minds like yourselves can help really shape what the future looks like. And so I love that you get to ask questions in this field. I love that you get to fail, because a lot of times research or things that you're doing doesn't always work out right, but you learn from it. And I think from those lessons, you're then able to come up with new and creative solutions to move you forward. So what I love is that it touches everything that we do, and we would not be able to continue to breathe, to live without science around us. And so I just love that it touches everything and that it really allows us to be creative, curious, innovative thinkers.
Can you tell us some more about some of the latest developments or trends in chemistry fields, please?
So absolutely. Yasna, is that how you pronounce your name?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Yasna, for the question. So some of the latest trends. So one of the things that's really, really hot right now in the science, technology, engineering, and math is the idea of chips. And I'm not talking about potato chips. I'm talking about semiconductors. And if you have paid attention to the news, you might have seen that there is these billion-dollar investments that are taking place where they're trying to create more chips, more of these little semiconductors in the US. And you might be saying, well, why do we care? Why is that necessary? Well, our cell phones have chips in them. The computers that we're using have chips in them. And in order for this technology to continue to work, we need more of these chips to be distributed across the world. And during the pandemic, there was a supply chain shortage, and that caused for delays in like iPhone releases and delays in other technology releases. And so right now, the US is really looking to establish itself as a global leader in the chips technology. And so in the chemistry, if we tie that to chemistry, well, you need people like chemical engineers to help contribute to the research to develop new, faster working, smaller chips that can be deployed across the world. So that's probably the biggest thing that's happening in the STEM field right now. Of course, in the education field and just the workforce in general, there's a lot of emphasis also on ensuring that we're creating environments where a diverse population feels like they can thrive. And so it's a combination of not only this really cool innovation when you think about the chips, but also it's this idea of getting more people into the field giving them the tools that they need to excel, and then helping them to have fruitful careers moving on. So those are probably be the biggest ones that are happening right now in this field.
That's so interesting, actually. Can you tell us more about your work coaching STEM professionals?
Absolutely. And so first, before I talk about a little of the work of coaching STEM professionals, I want to talk about just what a coach is in general. So most people have heard about mentors before, and mentors are people that often have done exactly the thing that you want to do. They're able to give you really great guidance and suggestions and share stories to help you navigate challenges along the way. And everyone needs mentors. I have several. So I hope you all are thinking about where you can find some mentors from as well. But also, there are things that are called coaches. And so coaches are a little bit different than mentors. A coach doesn't necessarily have to have done exactly the thing that you wanted to do. And in fact, some of the best coaches I've ever worked with aren't in my field at all. But what a coach is able to do is able to ask questions, really strong, what are, considered powerful questions, open-ended questions like what and how. And they look to partner with someone to help them co-create an action plan to move them forward. That's different than a mentor that might say, hey, I see that you want to do this, so you need to go do this, and go do this, and let me know how that works out. As a coach, I'm going to work with someone and ask them, what is it about this thing that you want to achieve? What has stopped you in the past? What challenges do you foresee? What support might you need to help you move forward? And I partner with them to help them unpack some of the things that they're struggling with. And then we co-design a plan of action versus me telling them what their plan of action. And so I've actually gone back to school. I consider myself a forever learner. I went back to school to Georgetown University and got an executive certificate in leadership coaching. And what that allows me to do is combine my knowledge in the STEM space with this coaching expertise to make a really powerful thing for people that are thinking about going into STEM careers. So often, people that I know that are getting their degree in science, they focus a lot on the technical piece. How do I do some analysis? How do I process some data? But there's not as much emphasis on figuring out, well, how do I navigate a career jump? How do I navigate finding a new job? How do I navigate negotiating for a bigger salary? And so as a coach, I'm able to now connect with people that I work with because I have the STEM background and be able to help partner with them to help navigate themselves to where they want to go. And so for me, I work a lot with early career professionals, so people that might be just graduating, or maybe they're new to their field and they're trying to figure out what's next, because just a lot of the information was never taught to them in school. And so I do a lot of advertisement through like LinkedIn, and people just organically find me just based off of some of the things I've done in my career and been able to achieve, and they'll look to work with me. And yeah, oftentimes I'm coaching anywhere between, I don't know, 5 to 6 people at a time over a couple of months. And so I love it. It's one of the things I love, helping people excel and giving them tools that they might need to get ahead.
All right, thank you for that response. Could you please tell us what propelled you to study chemistry instead of other avenues of science like engineering or physics?
Sorry, Nigel, could you repeat the first part of the question? Did you say how did I?
Did you choose your avenue of chemistry opposed to something like physics or biology?
That's an excellent question, Nigel, because one might think, having 2 parents that were physics majors that also then became engineers, that would be the path that I went. So what attracted me to chemistry over like biology or physics or engineering, I saw chemistry really as the best of all worlds. It has a lot of math in it. I love math. I love numbers. I love solving equations. So there's a lot of math in it. But there's also this kind of visual component. There's this, art to being able to set up your reactions. There's a little bit of memorization, not as much as like biology. And so really what drew me to chemistry, quite honestly, though, when I think about all the, reasons I could have chosen like physics or engineering, it really went to my teacher. I had a teacher, Mr. Frank Stackwitz, in 10th grade that during that time in my high school life, I was feeling like I was too cool for school. I didn't want to be the smart girl anymore. So I was kind of blowing off some of my studies, quite honestly. And I had this teacher that during our first 9 weeks, we had a parent-teacher conference, and he pulled me to the side and showed me a bunch of grades. And he was just like, here's all the A's, here's all the B's, here's all the C's, D's, so forth. He was like, but you see this last A. He was like, now that's you. However, you didn't earn the A, but I know you could have. And it was something about that moment that I had my own light bulb moment, my own aha moment of like, yeah, you're right. I know I could have earned it, but I was just trying to be too cool for school and not show up for myself. And so from that moment on, I had decided, yes, moving forward, I am going to earn this grade. I don't want to hand out. I do want to earn the grade. And so I did. I started really dedicating myself, really immersing myself into the discipline and understanding what it was. And so during the remainder of that year, I got all my straight A's, but then he allowed me to come back and actually serve as a tutor and a teaching assistant during high school. And I just loved the way he taught it. He was always, having little explosions going off in class and helping people to see, how this relates to cooking and how this relates to the tire pressure in our cars. And he made it real to me. And so for me, I really just wanted to follow in his footsteps, quite honestly. And that's what drew me ultimately to chemistry. Then as I got older and actually started doing a little bit more hands-on activities, internships, I was able to narrow down what part of chemistry I really enjoyed. I realized that, there's kind of a couple of different ways you can do chemistry. You can be someone that makes things. So you synthesize, you do reactions, or you might be someone that analyzes things and breaks things down and figure out what's there. I realized through internships, I loved figuring out what's in something. I loved being able to get a sample and taking it through a lot of different tests and figuring out what's in it. And is it, dangerous? Is it healthy for us? What's in there? And so for me, yeah, that's kind of how I got to chemistry. It combined all the things that I loved. It had the math, and then I just had a lot of really great educators and mentors along the way. And so in turn, when I'm teaching, I try to do the same thing. I have a TikTok page, Gen Chem with Dr. J, and I do a lot of, funny, goofy little skits here and there, but I also teach it in a relatable manner in under a minute and a half. I'm explaining how to do stoichiometry or how to do balancing reactions, and being able to make it relatable to others. I feel like I'm basically doing the same thing that my teacher did for me, but on a bigger scale, because now, people I don't even know can actually take advantage of the things I'm putting out there through my social media platforms. So that's kind of what drew me to it.
And see it, believe it, become it. That's a strong sense of empowerment. What message did you hope to convey through this piece?
Well, thank you. So, so when I was creating this piece, well, actually, let me step back and explain how the piece even came about. During early on in the pandemic, this is when we were all in lockdown. We couldn't go anywhere. We were at home. That was also shortly after the time that George Floyd was murdered. There was a huge groundswell of, activism and really just this movement that was happening. And a group called Black in Chem actually organized through a number of different founding members. And they decided to host a Black in Chem week during the first or second week in August of 2020. And so during that time, they had a roll call. They were like, let's, introduce yourself, say a little bit about who you are and so forth. So I participated on Twitter and just was like, oh, I'm Jeanita. I've worked as a bench chemist. I now work as an advisor. And I said all these things and had a couple pictures. But the last tweet that I made was just like, oh, yeah, I'm also an artist. And it's so crazy because you never know the impact of what you put out into the world and who's going to see it. And it just so happens that an editor from Analytical Chemistry, which is the journal that it ultimately got published in, they saw my tweet and they hit me up in the DM and they said, hey, I'm an editor from Analytical Chemistry. I have this kind of crazy idea that I've been looking to get off the ground. And I just saw your tweet and I thought you might be perfect for it. So they were looking to have this cover art series that showcased people of color that are also scientists, that are also artists, and using this as an activism, platform. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is so cool. But at first I was like, is this real? But then I was like, this is kind of cool, especially since my first research publication was in this very art journal. So for me, I was like, whoa, what a full circle moment to be able to create something so powerful for the same place that kickstarted my career. And so I started sketching a couple of ideas, but I knew I wanted to center around this idea of shaping someone's STEM identity, giving that confidence to others so that, I was fortunate that I had these built-in mirrors in my home that told me I could be a scientist. But so many people don't have that, especially people from marginalized communities. And so I wanted through my painting for it to be an uplifting piece, for it to really tell a story, and for it to pay honor to those that helped get me to where I'm at. And so I sketched out a few things on paper, and I met with the editor, and they fell in love with the sketch of this one. So it started off as just like a piece of paper doodle. So then fast forward, I ended up painting this. This took about almost like over the course of 3 days, 3 or 4 days that I was, had to sketch it, had to paint it, had to varnish it, had to do all the things. It's about 4 feet by 3 feet wide, 4 feet tall, 3 feet wide. And clearly hangs in my living room now. But yeah, so I really just wanted it to be something that inspired people, that whenever people saw it, that they could see themselves in it. What you may notice if you look at the painting, I don't know how well it's coming through my video, but there is no actual face here on the woman that's in the mirror. There's no face, and that's intentional because I wanted people to visualize anybody in there, visualize themselves in there, visualize whoever they see in there, and really reshape the image of what a scientist looks like. And so, as I mentioned, the painting is really representative of myself, like the colors. I love purple. That's my favorite color. So I made sure that, both of them are wearing that. Of course, the hair, normally I wear my hair out in a curly fro. I've integrated different things that were relevant to my science career. So I have like Beer's law, which is an equation that's used during spectroscopy, so measuring how things interact with light. There's a double helix, there's a melanin structure here, there's a Eppendorf tube. So there's all these things that I've used myself. And yeah, like I said, really the messaging behind it is just, it's about how others can help shape someone's STEM identity. So even if you look at the posture of the young girl, she's not doubting herself. She's standing tall and confident. And even as an adult, she's also standing tall and confident. And so that is by design from mentors, educators, parents, coaches, and the impact that they can have. So I love this, hands down my favorite piece that I've ever created. It's been turned into posters and notebooks, and there was talk about turning it into a puzzle at one point. So it's really uplifting when I meet people and they're like, oh my gosh, I have your painting in my office. I never thought I would be in a position where I'd have like artwork in people's homes. So it's pretty cool.
Wow, that's very detailed. I like all the detail you have. And I can tell you're very passionate about this, and it means a lot to you.
Yes.
That's all we have time for, and we'll be opening it up to the rest of the cohort now. Thank you so much for talking with us. It was very you were very knowledgeable, and I can tell. Is there anything else you want to know or say before we open it up to the other students?
Nothing major, but just you all have done some fantastic research. So kudos to you all for your questions, how you're answering asking the questions. Interviewing someone is no easy task. So just kudos to you all for really putting together some great questions. You've done your homework.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so now we're going to be opening the room for questions. So if anyone has a question that they would like to ask Jeanita at this time, I'll open up the room for you.
I have a question for you all, if that's okay. So my question for you all is, are any of you all thinking about going into a science, technology, engineering, or math career? Anybody interested in doing anything in that space?
I want to go to biology.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about biology interests you?
No, I want to go to like neuroscience and biology, because I want to become a neurosurgeon.
Very cool. Very cool.
Thank you.
I'm interested in engineering, and I feel like I also relate to you in a lot of ways because my parents are engineering and like computer science, so I see what they do, and I'm really interested in that stuff. I'm not very sure what engineering though, because I've been exposed to a lot of different engineering, and I don't really know what fits me perfectly, but yeah.
Nice. So my recommendation for that is when you get a chance, as you get older and you get a chance to go to school, look for internships. Internships are going to be the way that you can figure out what you like and, more importantly, what you don't like. A lot of things seem really, really cool when you hear about it. A lot of things seem really, really cool when you see them on TV. But when you get there, it's like, no, that's not how this works. That was my impression. When I went off to school to get my PhD, I wanted to go into forensic science, and did a minor in forensic science or forensic chemistry. But on TV, they always like glorified what a forensic scientist does. It's like the same person's on the crime scene, and then they run to the lab, and then they run to the courtroom, and they make it just look really cool. And I got in there and I was like, I mean, it's cool, but it's definitely not what's on TV. So internships will be very powerful in helping you tease out what part of engineering you really like.
Thank you, Jeanita. Now, is there any advice that you would like to give someone considering your career field, or how to get involved in general? How is it that they can start dreaming about taking the next step? Because this recording will be open to all, not only here in Sacramento, but anyone that has access to the internet. So we'll give you the room so you can inspire some other people.
Absolutely. So my advice to inspire people, especially those that are thinking about going into any career, not just STEM, first, dream big. That's my first piece of advice. The sky is the limit, quite honestly, and beyond, now that we're going into space even more. When I was younger, I did have a very limited view of what I thought I could do with my degree. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I could become an entrepreneur. Did I think I could work, have a nonprofit? Did I think that I would be creating art that ties into science? So, if there's something that interests you, you don't have to be a single entity person, meaning, well, I'm a scientist, so that's all I can do is just science. You can be a multifaceted person. You can be a scientist, an athlete, a musician, a dancer. You can do all these things. So don't feel like you have to sacrifice anything in order to achieve your dreams. But really, first and foremost, dream big. The second thing I would recommend is write down your dreams. And that could be either with like a journal, or if you're into doing things like vision boarding or anything like that, just taking time to pause and ask yourself, what is it that you want to do? And don't get caught up in the title of what it is, right? Because a title and what you actually do can be two very different things. So if you think about what brings you excitement, what brings you joy, what brings you positive energy, focus on how you can do more of that. And then you'll feel like you're never, working, because you're getting to do things that you love. But write it down, because that way you can remember it. That way, when new opportunities present themselves, you can see, does it align with the goals you've set up for yourself? Probably another piece of advice, and this is, I think, very relevant just in the social media times. Social media follows you for life. What you put out in the world follows you for life, as you all were able to find information on me. So just be mindful of how you show up on social media. You are a brand. What you put out into the world represents your brand. And so be mindful of that when you think about, retweeting something or liking something or commenting something, that 10 years from now, 5 years from now, when you're going for a job or going for something, that could be, it could be tracked back to you. So just be very mindful of that. But use your social media to create the brand that you want. So I love using my social media platform to talk about things that I'm passionate about. I love using it to teach science. I love using it to showcase the world, some of the different opportunities that exist. So think about how I think you all are at a wonderful, time in technology where so much is at your fingertips, and just figuring out how you can use that to excel you forward. And then probably the last piece of advice that I would offer you is, think about, who are your mentors? Who are people that uplift you, that inspire you? And most importantly, know that a mentor does not have to be a formal person that you know. A mentor could actually be someone that you've seen in passing, or maybe you follow on a social media, whatever social media channel, but they inspire you through their actions. They give you ideas on how you could get over different challenges. So think about who's pouring into you, whether that's through some type of formal relationship like a mentorship, or through what you're consuming, because that really does help shape where you potentially could go. So mentors are going to be key as you all continue to grow and get into different aspects of your career.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. It's very insightful to have invited guests such as yourself that can come forward and just talk about those little details that many are not really aware of. That is, they're not alone throughout the journey. It's always trying to find a sense of community and establish themselves out there, put up their own brands. And they're, like you said, the brand is just not your name, but it's who you are. 24/7, how you put out there to the community and to others. So any other advice, anything else that you can give us that you feel that we can take it and put it out there for the entire world to see?
I think the last piece of advice I would offer to the world is don't let fear stop you from trying. In fact, some of your best life lessons come from you failing. Think of the word fail as your first attempt in learning. There have been so many things that I have wanted that I didn't get. There have been times that I just knew I should have got some, opportunity, but it didn't come to fruition, or that I should have got some scholarship and it didn't happen. Or that some research project I was working on was going to work out well and it just didn't, it was a flop. But in each of those instances, I was able to step back and reflect on myself about, well, what would I do differently? How can I, if I get this opportunity again, what would I change? I'm a firm believer in, yes, processing your feelings, and yes, really think about, allow yourself to be angry, be sad, be whatever. But then also, I then like to take that mad feeling, even if I have, and I change it to motivating. I change it to like looking at that as a motivator, so I can, next time this comes around, I guarantee I'm going to get it. And so don't be fearful. Sometimes great things are going to be scary. Sometimes applying to a new job, or applying to a college, or applying to somewhere that's maybe a far distance away from your family or friends can be scary. But if I could just offer something, just don't, do it. If you're scared, do it anyways. That's a lot of times some of the best things are going to happen. And just remember that failing really is that first attempt in learning, and look for every lesson that you can take with yourself from any time that you have that opportunity to reflect and learn and grow. I've learned so much in the many times I probably have more fails than I do have wins. And each time I've had a setback, it always has set me up for something so much greater. So just reflect, figure out what you would do better next time, or differently. I don't even want to say better, differently next time, because that is going to be the kind of game changer that's going to get you to your goals.
Thank you, Jeanita. And then again, I'm gonna open the room one more time for anyone here, any of our members of our cohort that would like to ask one last questions before we adjourn for this conversation. You don't necessarily have to ask a question, but you can provide, just talk about anything.
I'm interested in how you promote diversity in STEM, because I know STEM can be a very non-inclusive field for like women and people of color. So how do you try to branch out of that norm and promote diversity?
That's an excellent question, Jamie. So for me, it starts with even just how I talk about certain opportunities. When we're advertising, jobs or anything like that, I like to make sure that flyers have representation of different people on it. So again, when someone sees a potential internship or a potential job opportunity, they can literally see themselves in the job because they see someone or something familiar to them. Then going a step further, I actually try to get into the community, get into the classroom, and help dispel barriers that might have prohibited people in the past. So arming people with the tools that they might need to build a resume or to apply for a job. And then, making sure that we have fair processes embedded in how we're doing our selection. So that's integral to getting a diverse workforce. But most importantly, the work doesn't stop there. Once we get people into the field, then it's about retaining them. How do we keep them in? And so the retention part comes from when they come into the new organization, providing them with mentors, providing them with peers, buddies to help navigate the, helping them understand those unwritten rules that an organization might have. Arming them with professional development, helping to position them for leadership positions. And so the idea of creating a diverse workforce, specifically in STEM, starts with that awareness piece, then building capacity so that they can apply, and then that support piece to really take them along the way. I'm a big believer of lifting while I climb. And so as I've gone up in different positions in my career, I'm constantly pouring back into the next generation, helping them understand, challenges I had so that they can avoid them, and then serving as a personal mentor or coach to them. It's definitely not, we still have a lot of work to do, but we are making strides in getting more people interested in STEM, and staying. So getting them interested and staying in STEM is still can be a challenge, but it really starts with the imagery that we're using. It starts with even the verbiage that we're using when we're describing a job. It's so easy to describe a job where a supervisor or a leader, we might use pronouns like he or him, and that in itself might already rule out so many people from applying. Or if you have a more like a technical job that you're using pronouns that weed out people. And so making sure that even in the job announcements that you're creating, they're inclusive. So you're not using gendered language, you're being more gender neutral. You're not using ableist language, so that you're really trying to make it so that it's when people read it, they know that they would have a place in there. But it's a lot of work. It is definitely something that, it keeps me up at night a lot of times. But I try to really just be the change that I want to see. And that starts with actually getting into the classrooms, doing stuff like this, it's sharing my story, and getting people interested at younger ages to hopefully stay in these spaces. So hopefully you'll become a engineer soon, and you're going to be one more number to add to the tally as we are looking to diversify the field. You're on.
If I don't think there's anything else that needs to be said. So we definitely want to thank you for being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And again, fantastic questions and interviewing you all in research. It was a pleasure speaking with you all today, and I look forward to seeing you all do great things in the future.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.